All right. So I knew that this was going to be last minute. But I wanted to get on and I just wanted to share with you guys. And I am checking to see if people have submitted questions. And if not, it's totally fine. I know that at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take 8 minutes and I'm going to talk about homeschooling. And then I'm going to take another 8 minutes and talk about homesteading. And then I'll take another 8 minutes and I'm going to talk about essential oils. And I just thought maybe this would be a cool platform to do that in. And if I can plan ahead better, I will do a better job of making sure that y'all know when I'm going to go live again or where you can actually join me in Zoom. Because one of the things that I love to do is answer your questions and see your faces at the same time. So that is my goal. I'm just checking really quick to make sure to see if anybody has submitted some questions. And if nobody has, then I will get started. So let me come over here and take a look. Okay, none there. Just going to check one more place and we'll see. Okay, so no questions, which is totally fine. Like I said, I know this was super, super last minute, but that I give people an opportunity if they wanted to. So, all right, 8 minutes here. I'm actually setting a timer. So homeschooling. Let's talk about homeschooling first. Okay. I have 5 kids, but I only homeschool 4 of them right now. My oldest is in 5th grade. No, she's in 6th grade. The next one is in 4th, and then I have one in 3rd, and then kindergarten/1st grade. And I don't know about you, but I think I would ask the question of like, how do you juggle those 4 different grades? Because they honestly are vastly, vastly different. And how do you juggle um, giving them each the quality time that they need? It's hard. Okay. So I'm just going to say that right out that it's hard. Thankfully, my oldest is pretty self-sufficient. I just have to make sure that I grade her stuff in a timely manner to make sure that she isn't missing anything in her, like in her math or her language arts work. And otherwise, she loves to school. She loves, like, she retains everything by reading or by listening. She's one of those learners. It's not how I learned. So thankfully, she's really helpful in that way too. So she just kind of does her own thing, and I'll check in on her every once in a while. Um, the next 2 in 4th and 3rd, they need a little more help. The 4th grader, not so much, but I did notice if she doesn't like to do something or if it's hard, she puts it in a folder. Okay, how many of you have kids like that? They take and they put it in a folder and they're like, I'm going to do this work later in this folder. And then the folder gets put up somewhere and then they lose it. So I've had to stay on top of her. I'm starting to notice a little bit more. So it really is kind of like a juggling act. And I think my recommendation for people is to not lose your mind or your stuff if your balls all come falling to the ground and you can't juggle it all. It takes practice. And what I've noticed is that I have to kind of cycle through the kids. And sometimes we have to do things after lunch. If they need a little more help with their math or with understanding a concept with their language arts, whether that's grammar or phonics or something like that, then I'll just have to pick it up after lunch. No matter what, around 11 o'clock, we do history all together and we do science all together. So the morning from like 8 until 10-ish is kind of just me jumping from one kid to the next. My youngest, who's in kindergarten, 1st grade, he takes my most time. Okay, because he can't read. He can't, like, he's learning all this stuff. So here's my encouragement. Teach your children to be independent. It will pay off in the long run. It takes so much time and effort and energy to do that right now. but it will pay off. It's like anything else in life. You have to put forth the effort in the beginning. You have to work hard in the beginning, and it's hard and you don't want to do it. But in the end, your children will hopefully be like my oldest, who now is pretty independent. I don't have to constantly tell her what to do or how to do it or when to do it. So you put in the time and effort in the beginning so that then later you can actually enjoy more time with them, even not just doing school. So, like I said, that's anything in life. That's exercising, that's changing your health and wellness goals, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. So, some common questions that I know I get is, as a mom who's also homeschooling, how do you find time for yourself as well as continuing to invest in your kids? Well, I'm going to put myself out there on a limb and say, sometimes as a mom of 5 kids who are still pretty young, my youngest is 3, my oldest is 11. Sometimes you will not have time for yourself when you want it. Okay? This is what God has designed you to do and to be. He has designed you to be this way, guys. Read Proverbs 31. That is the woman that you were supposed to pursue being like. She was up early. She burned her oil lamp like she was working at night. Okay? She was buying property. She was clothing her family. And not just her family, like her whole household, which included all of her servants. Okay? So there is, yes, do I think that sometimes it's good for you to take some time? Yes, it's called the Sabbath. Okay? It's called the Sabbath. And like I said, I'm kind of going out on a limb here, and I'm probably going to step on some toes and make some people a little upset. But this has been something that I've seen. This culture of, well, I just need some me time and like heading out. And like I said, sometimes that's fine. If you can make that happen, good on you. Okay? But for a lot of us, we can't. And so then whenever people are like, make sure you're taking time for yourself. Have you taken time for yourself? And then it makes us feel guilty because then we're like, oh, shoot, that's another thing I'm supposed to be doing, is making sure I take time for myself and take care of myself. Sometimes taking care of myself is going to the bathroom uninterrupted, or actually washing my face, or shaving my legs. Okay. Those are all things that for me, I count it all joy. Okay, so I'm like, I actually got to sleep like on Saturday morning. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I slept until 7. This was fantastic. Okay, so these are all things that I hold on, I'm getting a message. Okay, we'll have to deal with that later. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. So those are all things that I just want to encourage you guys in, that if you cannot, if for some reason you're like, I can't find time for myself and I'm starting to get a little bitter about it, maybe it's because that's not what God has for you right now in this season. Okay. If you can schedule time in that way, cool. For me, sometimes it's just going and working out with the ladies. Do I still have to bring my children? Yes. But guess what? My kids are playing and I'm getting to work out. And that's kind of me time. Okay. Because I'm getting to hang out with my friends. I'm still caring for my children. I'm still their mother. So that is just my challenge for you guys as homeschool mamas, not to get caught up in that bitter mindset of, I don't have me time. Okay. So, like I said, hopefully I don't step on too many toes, but maybe I can challenge you in your thinking in that way, that this is what God has designed you for. God designed women to be strong and to be able to endure and go and do what they're supposed to do, which is to take care of their family, their home, their husbands, their children, and to turn around and bless others with whatever other business ventures the Lord provides for you. Okay, so that is my encouragement to you. Now, homesteading, speaking of other business ventures, okay, if you are homeschooling and homesteading, you're going to feel me on so many of the things that I'm going to talk to you about. Let me restart my timer. Okay. So for us, even homesteading started out as we lived in the Ball Flats. So if you live in Lake City, you know, Ball Flats is like, that's almost where the working class lives for Lake City. And we lived on these couple town lots, and we had chickens, and I had attempted to have a little garden. It wasn't a very successful garden because we just didn't live there long enough for me to even be able to build it up. And there wasn't a ton of space. And it was like, where are we putting all of this? So we had chickens. Okay. That's how we started. Chickens. Okay. So this is once again, if this is something that you're interested in, if you're like, I just kind of want to do a mini homestead, I just want a few animals and a garden, chickens are a great thing to have. Okay. They provide eggs. This year, I decided that I was going to cycle my chickens out every 2 years. So they lay really well for 2 years. And then after that, their laying kind of starts to peter off. And so if you get a combo bird that's like meat and egg laying, then you can cycle your birds too. So then every 2 years you get a new batch, or every year you get a new batch and you butcher some of them. So then you're on a yearly cycle where you're actually putting meat in the freezer, but you still have eggs year round. Okay. So that's what we started with. And there's tons of information out there that you can Google. You can hop on YouTube. There's like tons of people out there putting out information. Okay. Some of them are a little eccentric, but some of them are legit homesteaders that know what they're doing. Excuse me. So we moved out to this property and we took our chickens with us. And the other thing that we acquired were sheep. Obviously, if you follow me at all on YouTube or on Instagram or Facebook, you know, we also have sheep. Now we chose sheep, and we chose a specific breed of sheep because they are hardy sheep. You know, a lot of times if you talk to any shepherds at all, they're like, yeah, sheep's goal in life is just to die. Like they're just looking for ways to die, which sometimes I have seen this where they're just aloof. That's the only way I can describe it. They're like blondes wandering around, and the only thing, they're like hungry blondes. Okay. So they are motivated by food. Food is the end goal in their life. So they can wander off somewhere. They could be in total and complete danger, and they would have no clue as long as there was food in front of their face. Okay. I've had sheep that have gotten their heads stuck in the wire, like they've put their head through the wooden fence and through the wire, and then they're just standing there. And I come along and I just kind of push on their nose, and they're like, oh, and they get out. And I'm like, you could have gotten out. So it just kind of cracks me up. But sheep, we also chose sheep because you can have a good amount of sheep on this type of land. This land does not sustain cattle. Okay. The piece of property that we're on it might sustain a cow, maybe. Okay. Whereas these sheep, they will eat anything. It was just kind of cool that that's how these sheep are. Okay. So then we acquired a horse. It was given to us. Okay. But I also want to talk about my garden a little bit. Okay. So when we first moved here, I took one of the front beds that was already there that I think was supposed to be a flower bed. It already had some rhubarb in it. It had a columbine flower. And I was like, oh, that just made my heart so happy. And it had poppies. Those are 3 things that I've always just wanted. And it was like, God was like, here you go. So huge blessing. I felt extremely blessed by that. Well, I was like, okay, I'm going to plant some stuff in this bed. Things did not grow. They died. And so I finally tested the soil. The next year I tested the soil and discovered there were no nutrients in the soil, like nothing. Everything was depleted. If your soil is not healthy, your plants will not grow. So take a lesson from me. If you're looking to start even a little garden, test your soil, or just go get some really good quality garden soil if you can do that. If you can't afford that, test your soil, okay, which is not expensive to test your soil. Figure out what it needs, and you can go buy a bag of organic soil or organic fertilizer for a good price if you're trying to stay organic. Okay, and then you can mix that in with your soil. See if there's people that are giving away free manure. Okay, rabbit manure, chicken manure. Okay, if you have chickens, it's perfect. You just take your chicken poop and you go put it in your garden. Okay, horse manure, cow manure. I mean, any of that, you mix that in. Okay, start studying about soil health. That would be my recommendation. So the second year, we got a little more. This third year, okay, we finally got up the greenhouse that was given to us. Okay, all these blessings. I've just been blown away by the blessings that God has given us. Look for those, anticipate those. Okay, I'm not saying that you're going to be given a greenhouse. What I'm saying is that use what God has provided. So if you only have a 4x8 bed to plant in, then by golly, make it the best 4x8 bed that you can make it. Okay. Use what God's given you and use it to the best of your ability. That is what that Proverbs 31 woman would do. Okay. She would take it and she would cultivate it and she would bring life out of it. Okay. Not right now.
Dennis just threw up.
Oh, Dennis just threw up. Okay. All right. I'll be down in a minute. Okay. See the excitement and the fun here. Okay. So the last thing that I'm just going to mention to you guys really quick is about essential oils. Okay. And I have a lot of videos online about essential oils. Okay. And I'm probably actually just going to hop back on and I'm going to do a separate little video about that. And we're just going to wrap that up. If you have questions at all about homeschooling or homesteading or anything like that, you can message me. You can text me if you have my number. And you can even give me a call if you have my number and be like, okay, so what about this? And I would love to share more. But I'm going to go take care of my son who just threw up. So I hope you guys have a great evening.